everybody. I just speed drove over here from Detroit. We were handing out a few coats on the streets. And I'm going to take a breath for a minute. But if we can, there we go. So the empowerment plan basically started off as a school project gone awry. Up until 3 weeks ago, I was a student at College for Creative Studies. I just graduated, so yay for me. Woo! And I really describe it as the school project gone awry. Awry is a very appropriate word for making a business out of something that started as a very small product and escalated from there. But before we do that, I like to take everybody through an exercise that's going to be infinitely easier now that it's freezing out. I want you all to close your eyes and imagine what it was like to wake up this morning, what it was like to run out of your house and do a dead sprint to your car, and then what it was like to sit in that car while it was warming up. Now, imagine yourself there, but take away the car. I want you to take away the house that you just started off in. And then I want you to take away your friends' homes and everybody else that you normally turn to when it's so cold outside, and let's say you lost your heat, you lost your water. Where would you go? And what would you do if this was your scenario? Now, open up your eyes, no sleeping. What would happen to you in that situation? And that's what I want everyone to think of, because when people think of homelessness, they think of a person or a group of individuals that fill one category. They're lazy. Or, they have mentally handicapped. Some think that, it just wrong place, wrong time, wrong situation through their entire life. What I want to do is kind of break down that barrier a little bit and have you think of them as individuals, as we are, that it can happen to any one of us at any time, and it's always an option. It's always there. I think not many people are aware of that. And that's really where the empowerment plan started. So it was a school project based on that number, based on 20,000 counted and 36,000 homeless in Detroit alone, and that's 3.5 million in the US. And that's just the counted number. That's like how many people we can see. This has nothing to do with how many people are within parking structures. There's areas I've been in that have whole communities underground. So that's 1 in 42 people in Detroit. This is what started the entire project, this picture alone. I got into a product studio and they're like, okay, design to fill a need. And that's a huge, daunting question as a product designer. Usually you're like, design something pretty fast and shiny. You're like, oh man, that's so easy. I get to make something aesthetically pleasing, and at the end of the day, it costs like 2.5 cents, and you can, ship and make thousands. They said design to fill a need, and I'm like, okay, I'm a college student. I have most of my needs being met. I have ramen and a dorm room. So the next stage is going out to find people that have needs, obviously, that aren't being met. And that was very obvious in Detroit. This was taken on my cell phone on a walk down Cass. This is at MLK and 3rd. And you can see this a lot in Detroit. You see playgrounds, buildings that are now made into makeshift homes. And this playground itself, 1 week later, was torn down, was burned to the ground. And I wanted to know why that playground was literally like 20 yards away from a shelter. Why people are doing that. Why would somebody put themselves out there and live and have to rely on themselves when there's a shelter offering them free support 20 yards away? You could see it from that shelter. And that's where the coat came in. As a product designer, of course, I had to make it a product because I'm like, okay, this is my element. What should I do with it? I started working at NSO. And I started talking to people and designing this product with them. I came back every week, 3 times a week for 5 months, designing this project, designing this product that they could use. The first one, very rough. I was very proud of myself. It took 80 hours, showed it to them. They thought it looked like a body bag. So it's been a lot of ideation from then. So this is one of the first ones. And I will be showing you, not quite right now, but I will be calling up a volunteer to try out our newest version, which has yet to be released anywhere yet, and is actually on the streets right now. But this coat, very simple. It's a coat, kind of a coat, and it's a sleeping bag. And that was it. And it was just the combination of the two materials that are a wind and water barrier on the outside and an insulator next to the skin. And that was it. That's all I wanted to accomplish, was something wet, warm, and dry. Sorry, not wet, warm and dry. And I just wanted to make sure that it was easy to make, enough that I'm not the one making it. Because what does it matter if I'm holding myself up with my mom in my basement making these for weeks on end? Does it really affect anybody if I'm just making them? Really not at all. It took a woman yelling at me, I don't know if this was shown in the clip, but a woman actually yelling at me, telling me that my coat didn't matter. At the end of this 5 months, I'd gotten to know people. They started calling me the crazy coat girl. Crazy white coat girl. You know, just a mixture of crazy and girl. And that was my name on the streets. Really, it was endearing. They actually meant it nicely. They smiled when they said it, so it was a good thing. But at that point, they were asking when it was going to happen. They were asking when it was going to exist, and that gave me enough motivation to take it to the next level. But one day, one woman started screaming at me, like 2 feet away from me, started yelling at me, saying that your coat doesn't matter at all. It's another product. What is this going to do for us? She said, we need jobs. If you're not going to do that, then who cares about your coat? And that was, okay. You know, I went and had a drink with a friend, and we saw more than maybe a drink, and we figured it out from there. And then I'm like, but it's completely true. What does my one product actually do if it's not providing jobs? And so that's when, first we started off at Cass, and this is when Pony Ride comes in. I know you heard Phil Cooley talking about this earlier. I was very lucky to get on the ground floor of helping construct my own manufacturing facility. So I hired a few people back in December, just 2 women, Sig and Alicia, and we were in a closet with 3 industrial machines that we had gotten donated from Carhartt. I had no idea how to use industrial machines. I am still horrendous at sewing, so we had some people coming in and teaching, and we were doing this a very slow way. But Pony Ride, we were power washing ceilings, and now we had 2,000 square feet instead of 20 square feet to make these. So now we have about 275 coats out. We're getting 200 out this season and 75 of the first one. The first one we did was the one you saw earlier. Myself and 5 of my friends all slept outside in it. Had to get them quite inebriated and fed before they agreed to do it, but you know, it was 17 degrees outside, and we were in the middle of a parking lot while it was snowing. And we were fine. The only uncomfortable part is lying directly on concrete. But we were fine. And this one right here is proven 3 times warmer and 3 times more stylish, if I do say so myself. And really excited about how far we've come. The first one was kind of all of us learning. And this one is that next stage. So instead of having 2 women and myself, we now have 5. That includes the full-time seamstress who has her own kids, who's coming in to teach a skill that she can't get a job for anywhere else. She no longer can do tailoring. She can no longer do her fashion design. But if you give her an opportunity to teach it, there's possible jobs. And then 3 women, Alicia, Demetria, and Anis, that are now were paid to learn industrial sewing. We paid them a huge stipend just to learn it, to give them motivation to come every day, because most of these women have kids. And if I'm not giving them something in return, they're not coming back. And they're employed full-time now. Each of them, $10 an hour starting. They do 40 hours a week, and they produce these coats. So this was the first coat we gave out last year. And this, if you look at the building in the back, I show this every time because I think it has the most impact. I think this changes how people think of how homeless individuals are living and what is homelessness. Because if you look at that house, somebody is living there. And not only are they living there, they're paying money to live there. They are paying rent. The woman there and a lot of other individuals like her that may or may not have a mental handicap are being taken advantage of by living in homes and buildings that don't always look like this. They don't have running water, that don't have heat, that don't have doors, that don't have windows, that don't have a working ceiling, roof, walls, anything. And they're paying somebody money to live there. Let's say an individual was in a shelter. They were there for 90 days. They had to find a place to live because they're just getting booted out now and they have no money. They have their disability check. They go out and find a place like this, the only place that will take them apparently, and they live here or somewhere similar to this and pay money to do so. And what happens after they live there and their disability checks keep on going into a place like this instead of food or savings or a car or jobs or proper health care? This is what they get. And this is T-Bone, the first guy that got this coat as of last week, right before it was snowing. And he got a little small one, but we were really excited. He was excited too. He had to actually take off the 4 coats he was wearing and played us a song. And like I said, this is Alicia, the first woman we hired back in December. Now, her story and Demetria's story is pretty exciting. They both have 3 kids. And now, thanks to being employed for so long by us, she's in her own apartment. She's no longer in a shelter, and that does not mean we're not having her fully employed by us anymore. But Tabion, her youngest son, who's 6, is now learning Japanese at a charter school. So not only is she out of that system of constantly having to get into the shelter and then getting booted out of a shelter because she didn't have enough savings, she now is completely out of that cycle, leaving room for people that really need that space, the mentally handicapped that are being taken advantage of in those situations on the streets. So we're trying to get people out of shelters that are driven enough and motivated enough to want jobs that wouldn't get a chance anywhere else. She couldn't get a job at McDonald's. So I would love to have somebody come try out our brand new coat. It's an extra large. It's going to be a little baggy, but if anybody's willing to try it on, David. So right now, I would like you to try to wear it because this is our new little design tweak right here. It can become an over-the-shoulder bag that stores some stuff. So. Ooh, now you can walk around it in the summer. We've given out coats from San Francisco to New Orleans to Chicago, Detroit, Boston. And if you undo that little clasp in front, we're designing them for different climates. And we're also designing them so that we can, in the future, sell them in the next year. Think of Tom's Shoes. Think of one laptop per child. It's very hard to function as a nonprofit and be sustainable as a business when you are manufacturing things. And then you can open it up and drop out the sleeping bag like that. And there you go. Ooh, I like that. That was really good timing. Thank you. That was nice. So we're working on, not only we're using hopefully 50% recycled material in our next version that we're going to produce, but we'll be selling coats to people like you guys that drove here, have a house, and want a coat for hunting, fishing, sports, or just for their car. I've gotten lots for, I want one for my Lexus. Okay, you're not the target right now, but I will be selling them to you soon. And so that will hopefully fund not only more seamstresses, more people getting jobs, but a larger facility in which we helped with the ground floor of Pony Ride. We would love to do it for another building in Detroit. So.